Welcome, everyone. We're going to get started in just a minute. All right, welcome, everyone. We are glad to have you with us today for the Security Operations Bidders Conference. Before we get started, we're going to go over a few webinar notes. I would like to, first, can everybody please raise their hand to confirm that they can hear me? Perfect, thank you all so much. I would like to remind everyone that you can switch between your computer audio and a phone call. The attendees will be muted and the slides will be available in the addendum. I will now turn it over to Deshawn.
Good afternoon today. Welcome to the Security Operations Bidders Conference. Here are today's presenters. I am Deshawn James, the procurement lead for this RFO. We also have Jody Erickson from the Chief Financial Office and Sally Ward from Shared Technology Services. Joining us are Teresa Williamson from the Business Outreach Coordination Office, Chris Walton from the Office of General Counsel, Marie Cohan, our statewide digital accessibility officer. Each presenter will speak to their areas of expertise throughout today's session. Next slide, please. As we get started, I want to note that this meeting is being recorded. Once the recording is ready, this will be posted as an addendum on the electronic State Business Daily, along with the full attendees list and a copy of the slides. Any questions submitted before or during the conference will be answered through an addendum. We encourage all interested parties to check the ESPD frequently for updates, as we will be putting all information on there going forward. Next slide, please. Here's a quick look at our agenda. We'll start off with the overview of Shared Technology Services, followed by the Security Operations Vision and Scope. Then we'll move into the RFO overview, response submission requirements, evaluation criteria, negotiation processes, VetHub subcontracting plan, digital accessibility requirements, legal matters, and general information, including how to submit questions. We'll close with the next step and reminders. Next slide, please. We will now go over the Shared Technology Services with Sally Ward. Sally.
Thank you, Deshawn. Welcome, everyone. We're very happy that you took the time today to come hear our bidders conference. Our goal in this presentation is to help you understand the vision and the strategy for this RFO, to help you understand better why the requirements that we put into the RFO are there. So let's go to the next slide. First off, this is our shared technology services model. We have a best-in-breed multi-sourcing services model where we have data center services, as you can see on the left, followed by Texas.gov, managed security services, our Texas Identity Access Management new offering, and the Open Data Portal. Tying all of these services together is the MSI, or Multi-Sourcing Services Integrator, that ensures that our customers have a single entry into all of our services, a one-stop shop, if you will, to contact our program, and also to ensure that everyone in the program is managing their services in the same way together. Within data center services, you'll see at the bottom of that box on the left is security operations. That is this RFO, or SecOps. You can go to the next slide. I think it's important that all of our service component providers and our vendors understand the value that we are attempting to provide through all of our shared technology services. And it really focuses on 4 words: secure, reliable, cost-effective, and modern. Everything that we provide and everything that we do is formed around those 4 pillars to ensure that security is bundled into everything, that our services are reliable, that what we provide is done in a cost-effective way, and it's modern. We're not retaining old practices. We are always introducing new technologies, so we never fall into debt. Our motto is that we mitigate security risk, we minimize your taxpayer dollars, we prepare Texas for the future, so that we can allow our customers to focus on their mission and not on the management of their IT. Next slide. I also think it's important to understand a little bit about the history of this service component. Data center services security, since its inception in 2007, was always a part of the delivery of infrastructure services. When we decided to split public cloud from private cloud, we decided we needed to have an independent third party to provide that security operations oversight. And in 2020, we created a new SecOps. But since then, our services are experiencing tremendous growth, especially in the areas of application development and public cloud. And now we have AI in the environment to take advantage of. So there are some really compelling reasons why we needed to rethink and reshape the vision and strategy for SecOps. Next slide. This is our vision along with our desired outcomes. And I wanted to highlight on the vision, the strengthening and expanding of security responsibility and accountability to ensure a strong program security posture. This is a bit different from the requirements in the current SecOps contract. Today, we set policy, we oversee our vendors to ensure they adhere to that policy. Tomorrow, we want that policy and the oversight to also include looking at not just is each individual member doing what they need to do, but is the program overall maintaining a strong security posture? So this means that we must be doing oversight of our customers in their vulnerability management and their patch compliance. It is not going to be enough to ensure that a vendor patches something or requests a customer to approve a patch by a certain date. If the customer never approves it, that's not good for the program. So we have added requirements to oversee our customers' compliance with the policy and our vulnerability posture. We also are adding a security center of excellence, and we think this is important to anticipate and prevent evolving cybersecurity threats. In other words, managing day-to-day is a lot of work, but keeping your eye on the future is incredibly important and requires that dedicated team to do that. So we are requiring that Security Center of Excellence. If you look over on the right, there's some outcomes that are important to us. Providing compliance and governance leadership is very important. Ensuring comprehensive vulnerability and threat management overall, regardless who is required to do what, looking at the program overall and managing those risks and using the escalation paths in place to ensure that we are actually remediating as soon as we can. We want to evolve and enhance our security posture. We want very effective security incident response management. We also want to drive our policies and standards for the program. And we also intend to broaden our oversight to application services components for policy and oversight. And finally, very important is to add the capability to provide data classification, policy, and discovery and compliance with our customers. Next slide. So with all this growth and with all this AI, we felt that it would be very important in the next phase to bring our SecOps provider beyond just oversight to our service component providers, but also provide that guidance and oversight to our customers. And allowing that customer interface and customer specific support and projects is new. We want to be able to provide specialized advice or guidance, for example, in data classification, helping customers understand, how do I do this? Why do I need to do this? What tools could I use to do this? We want the ability to provide that expertise directly to customers. So that is not something that is provided through the current contract, but is in the new contract. We also believe that if we are expanding this customer interface, we will then be enhancing and strengthening our security posture overall, which will include all of the things in the slide for customers, not just projects, but ongoing vulnerability management, ongoing risk identification and escalation, and finally, security exception management. Having a security exception is not the end of the process. The end of the process is managing the entire issue until there's no exception needed. You can go to the next slide. This tiny slide with all these little words, I'm not going to read to you, you will get a copy of this deck, is trying to show you where the different services fall in our services model. So on the left is what you will see at a high level. You will see all of these things within the SecOps scope of work. You will also see within the MSI's scope of work, all of these things that the MSI is providing in addition to SecOps. And public cloud and Texas private cloud, or PCM and TPC, provide all of the OS monitoring and management and threat scanning and so forth. So you'll notice the tools are being provided by the PCM and TPC, and SecOps is providing the Security Operations Center, the governance, risk and compliance, and incident management, and so forth. Within DIR, we still retain the strategy, the sourcing strategy, service operations, and oversight. We still do vendor management over all of this. And we welcome a new partner, our Texas Cyber Command, who will give us the directives and the policy and will be engaged in security incidents with the SecOps provider. You can go to the next slide. As AI is emerging, we all know that it is important that we are all using AI in an ethical and responsible way. DIR's policy focuses on 4 areas. Focuses on transparency, knowing what AI is being used where. It focuses on data protection, what data is being used How is it being used? What data is being used to train, and where does that data go? Providing oversight and governance on the framework to make sure that we know and see the outputs of what's happening with the AI tools that we're using. And finally, that we always have human review for any AI tool that we have. Very common, as you know, nothing earth-shattering new, but these are the concepts that our policies are centered around. Next slide. I'd like to talk a bit about the key service personnel that we've requested in this contract. We do require a 24-month commitment minimum. That's from the contract execution, so that would be through the transition period and into the commencement of services. We also require and ask you pay attention to the organization chart that you put forward, that it has clearly defined lines of authority and accountability for all management of the aspects of these contracts, from finance to contract management to security management and so forth. And the reason why this is important is in a best in breed model where we have multiple service providers providing service, we have to be able to ensure that each service provider has sufficient oversight and controls to manage their operations. We DIR do not have the bandwidth nor the inclination to manage your team. So we need to make sure your organization includes that direct control and management. We also want you to propose to us and tell us for each of these positions, what percentage of a full-time equivalent or FTE will you be dedicating to our program? And what do we mean by that? Dedicated. We mean that if this individual is providing services to Texas and another state, that you would tell us what percent of that individual is on Texas. We understand that while they're on Texas, you're dedicating them to us. We are asking you, of the percentage of that person, what percentage will be allocated to Texas? We also ask that you provide clear details of the levels of expertise that you are providing. Specifically, we ask about cloud, SOC 2 auditing. We ask about support tiers. Be sure to detail that. And then know that we will periodically review those rules and make sure that everyone is able to perform. We ask for the 6 positions that are highlighted here, but we may have missed something, or you may think that an area is important, and you're welcome to propose an additional or more service personnel. I do want to point out that the technical director will have overall accountability and responsibility for enterprise architects, technology planning, strategy, solution management, all those types of good things. The security director, we want to have the overall accountability and responsibility for the security center of excellence. So that's going to be the governance, risk, compliance, assessments, reporting, and such. Next slide. A little bit about performance management. As I mentioned before, we want to ensure that the SecOps service provider is overseeing the security posture for the program. In doing so, we have created shared SLAs between the MSI and our private cloud and public cloud providers with the security operations provider. That means that we will be evaluating and rating the SecOps provider's attainment, SLA attainment, also based on the results and attainment of those other integrated service components. And in our model, we have 2 different types of service level agreements. We have critical and we have key. Critical include financial credit earn back opportunities. Key do not have financial credits. We also have critical deliverables as a part of this performance model. Some are in the transition and some are routine, ongoing critical deliverables, some of which do have financial credits if the vendor misses the performance of that deliverable. But we can't include every single SLA as a measured SLA. Every level of performance can't all be into an SLA. So we've created a performance management system that allows us to add, modify, elevate, delete SLAs as necessary. And we say this is DIR's unilateral right to add, modify, elevate, and delete because we want to ensure that the solution you provide at the price that you propose ensures performance in all areas of the contract, not just what we measure in a critical deliverable. When an SLA is missed, there is a process that the MSI will lead the SecOps provider through to develop a service level improvement plan. That plan will include corrective actions, it will include deadlines, and it should ensure that the service levels are returning back to acceptable levels. For financial credit or critical SLAs, if you meet your SLA for the 3 months after the miss, you will receive 50% back of the financial credit. And if you meet the SLA for the next 3 months, you will receive the remaining 50% of the financial credit back. So that at the end of 6 months, you can receive 100% of that financial credit back. Our model is designed not to make money. Our model is designed to incentivize performance. And we want to make sure that as you look at your solution and you price it and you staff it, that you keep these concepts in mind. Next slide. I think I've already talked about most of this in the slide before, so let's just pass on to the next one. All right. I wanted to talk a bit about a service integration model. What does this mean? So our goal is to leverage the MSI as the service integrator so that we can provide a single point of contact to customers and seamless service delivery across all our providers. In order to do this, all of our providers are required to both collaborate and also share in operating agreements. Let's go to the next slide. So what we mean by collaboration and operating agreements, I've put some information here on this slide. Every single service component provider's contract has all of these items in it. Everyone is required to provide the cooperation that is necessary to ensure our customers successfully get what they need from the program. And we have operating agreements and requirements for you to have operating agreements so that you can work out with those other service providers that impact your work, how you are going to best work together. And where we can relate SLAs together and measures are shared between you and other service component providers is common in the rest of the model. And finally, we do have a governance escalation allowance if a service component provider is impacted in an SLA and there is a financial credit assessed that the service component provider is not liable for. We have an escalation that allows you to seek financial credit relief in those circumstances. All right, next slide. Want to talk now a bit about our governance over shared technology services. And this is important to understand that while we have many customers in STS, we behave and operate as one. And we do that because of the governance that our customers are required to participate in. All of our customers have interagency or interlocal agreements with DIR where they commit to participating in governance and to participate in sharing the services so it's delivered one way for all. And in order to have that framework, then our customers need to be able to work directly with our service providers to resolve local operational issues at a local level. at the lowest level possible. But our governance needs to make sure we involve all of our customers at all levels. So we've established a representational model where customers are segregated into partner groups. And then each partner group establishes one representative to attend each of our solution groups or committees and represent the rest of the members in that partner group. That is designed to help us resolve issues and make strategic decisions. It also helps us provide that single voice to our vendors. We do not have an advisory customer governance model. Advisory models simply allow a customer to complain, but not have the ability to actually be a part of the solution. Our governance model is all about solving problems, and we expect all of our members to come together to bring those problems together so that we can solve them. It's also important to note that our service component providers are also members on most of our our solution groups and our committees. So let's go to the next slide. And this is our map of all of our committees. You'll see the Business Executive Leadership Committee is at the top. Those are the executives and deputy executives of our customers. The IT Leadership Committee is next. Those are the CIOs, the IT directors, and so forth, and they manage all of the solution groups below. You'll see the Security Solution Group on the bottom level includes both managed security services as well as security operations, which is SecOps for data center. And that would be the Security Solution Group that this vendor will participate in. All of these solution groups are consensus-based decision-making groups. The ITLC is also a consensus-based decision-making group. Where a solution group cannot make a decision or can't come to consensus, that issue is escalated to the IT Leadership Committee. Where the IT Leadership Committee cannot make a decision, those issues are escalated to the Business Executive Leadership Committee. And the Business Executive Leadership Committee is a voting entity, and the membership is only customers. There are no service provider members. They are only affiliates. I say only affiliates invited to come and participate in topics that relate to your service component. That's my overall view. Hopefully that helped you see how SecOps fits into the shared technology services model, the value that we expect to see out of it, and our expectations for your response. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Jody Erickson, our Director of Shared Services Finance.
Thank you, Sally, and welcome potential bidders. Excited to talk to you a little bit about pricing. Next slide. There are 3 documents that make up the pricing portion of your response: Exhibit 2, Attachment 2.1, and Attachment 2.2. Both Exhibit 2 and Attachment 2.2 are informational only and do not need to be returned with your response. The first document, Exhibit 2, describes all the related financial requirements and the methodology for calculating the billing charges that are in Attachment 2.1. So please read those words carefully before you start your pricing proposal. The second document is Attachment 2.1, which is the main pricing document, and the respondent should pay close attention to the instruction tab when you're completing each section of the proposal. The attachment must be completed and submitted with your response in accordance to the RFO instructions. The third document, Attachment 2.2, is an easy reference matrix that identifies who pays for the key components of the statement of work and the associated charging reference. Next slide. So some proposal highlights that we wanted to point out include pricing assumptions. Respondents should leverage the Q&A process and attempt to eliminate as many pricing assumptions as possible prior to submitting your proposal. Let me say that again. Please use the Q&A process to attempt to eliminate pricing assumptions prior to submitting your proposal. It will help both of us as we go through this process. The Q&A process is there to obtain the information you need to eliminate any uncertainty that contributes to the need for that assumption. If you do decide to include an assumption, marking the pricing impact as to be determined, TBD, or 0 is not an acceptable response. Please attempt to quantify your assumption. Next are key considerations. Be sure your pricing excludes activities normally included in your rates that are provided relate to services provided by the MSI in the shared services model. This is things like billing, SLA management, those types of things. For rate card, make sure your rates that you propose are inclusive of any anticipated travel and meet the required qualifications and experience. There are 2 sections to rate card, so be sure that you identify each one of those with separate rates. Moving into transition, all transition-related costs must be priced on a milestone basis. Pre-commencement milestones will be accepted as the milestone is achieved, but will not be invoiced until commencement. Additionally, I'd like to emphasize that we are not expecting large transition costs, as this is the assumption of an existing STS tower with extensive processes already in place. And then finally, we're looking for volume discounts. As the program grows and we're aggregating volumes across the state, we want to share in those incremental volume discounts. So please be sure to fill those out completely as part of your initial response. Next slide. I'd also like to highlight some other pricing topics. Charges are primarily fixed except for SIM integration. All projects will be milestone based using the rate card resource roles and estimated hours. And finally, SecOps has significant infrastructure deployed in the Texas private and public cloud environments, which should not be included in your pricing. You'll want to refer to the information in the data room frequently, as that information can change throughout the procurement process to understand which pieces of infrastructure are deployed in either the public or private cloud. And Deshaun, I think that takes us back to you.
Thank you, Jody. Next, I will give the overview of the request for offer. As stated in the RFO, we are seeking to procure a single vendor capable of managing, modernizing, and evolving our SecOps services. This includes ensuring a consistent, modern, and flexible approach to cybersecurity across the STS environments. As part of the RFO, we expect to receive proposals and select one successful respondent to move forward into contract. It's also important to note that vendors currently performing services such as TPC, Public Cloud Manager, Mainframe, Print Mail Digitization, TDGS, and TIAM, TSS, and the public cloud providers are precluded from award due to independence required for SecOps oversight. Now let's get into the RFO contents. Next slide, please. Thank you. The RFO includes several components, beginning with the RFO document itself, and each attachment A through G plays a critical role in evaluating the proposals. We will go more in detail with these attachments as we move forward. All required documents must be submitted for your response to be considered complete. Next slide, please. Which leads me into Exhibit 1. Exhibit 1 contains the full statement of work and its associated attachments and appendices. This includes the service level matrix, definitions, the SMM content structure, the key personnel requirements, the reporting details, and the reporting details. Exhibit 2 focuses on financial provisions, pricing requirements, and the financial responsibility matrix. Respondents should carefully review these documents as they define how financial submission requirements should be completed. Next slide, please. In addition to the RFO and exhibits, respondents must review the contract documents including the MSA. The MSA contains numerous attachments related to definitions, insurance, service code, source code, escrow, parent guarantees, and security requirements. As we move to the RFO requirements, I want to note that respondents should confirm early on whether they can comply with these terms, as any exceptions must be documented in attachment G. Next slide, please. DIR's objective in this procurement is to establish a centralized point of responsibility for the STS security operations, supported by highly automated and scalable solutions. Respondents must meet the minimum qualification requirements, including at least 5 years of experience delivering comprehensive security governance and operations in a multi-supplier environment, along with 3 major contracts, substantial value within the last 5 years. These requirements ensure that respondents possess the necessary experience to successfully manage a program of this size and complexity. Next slide, please. DIR anticipates a 4-year initial contract term with optional renewals up to an additional 4 years. This structure allows for a total program period up to 8 to 10 years, depending on transitional needs and time in alignment with fiscal cycles. DIR may bypass respondents during negotiations if it becomes clear that an agreement cannot be reached in a reasonable time period. Next slide, please. Speaking of time, the RFO schedule outlines the major procurement milestones. The bidders conference is today with questions due by June 5th and responses due by June 26th, both at 2 p.m. Central Time. Evaluation and clarifications will occur from July through September, followed by integration sessions, due diligence, and negotiations from October through April. Respondents must meet all deadlines to remain eligible for award consideration. I'll repeat that. Respondents must meet all deadlines to remain eligible for award considerations. Next slide, please. To support respondents in preparing their proposals, DIR maintains a digital data room that contains program details, historical data, operational documents, and other reference materials. To gain access, you must complete an online request form, execute a required NDA, and email it to the point of contact listed in the RFO. Once access is approved, you will be notified. DIR will continue adding materials throughout the procurement, and all updates will be announced through ESBD addendums. Respondents should check these sources frequently to avoid missing critical information. Next slide, please. We'll now move into the response submission requirements. Next slide, please. Thank you. There are 4 submission packages. Package 1 includes administrative documents, such as the respondent information form and qualification materials. Package 2 covers your technical response to the service requirements. Package 3 contains all of your pricing documentation, and Package 4 is your completed VetHub subcontracting plan. Each package should be clearly named according to the conventions in the RFO, and all documents must be included for your response to be considered. Responses must be submitted electronically and received before the deadline. Next slide, please. Now we will discuss the files required in the RFO response package 1. Every document here is mandatory. These includes the executive summary, respondent information form, technology solution summary, qualification requirements and references, financial documentation, the RFO addenda, the PDAA assessment with the other accessibility forms, and the release of liability forms. Missing any required forms could result in rejection of your response, so please validate these documents thoroughly, please. Next slide, please. For response package 2, this includes your technical response to service requirements. This must include the technical solution summary, transition approach and methodology, transition project plan, both editable and PDF formats, respondent experience, terminated contract disclosures, proposed account organizations, and any exceptions documented in attachment G. These materials demonstrate your ability to deliver on program needs and to transition services smoothly. Next slide, please. For response package 3, it contains your pricing submission, including attachment 2.1. Response package 4 contains your completed VetHub subcontracting plan. The VetHub subcontracting plan is a pass-fail requirement, meaning that failure to submit one completed would disqualify your response. For the pricing portion, please follow the instructions provided in Exhibit B. Everything must be clear and complete. Next slide, please. Okay, there's a few critical reminders that I would like to highlight. Attachment A must be fully completed and signed by an authorized officer. Qualification requirements must be documented clearly, and respondents should also include signed copies of all RFO addendas. Missing any of these may result in disqualification. Next slide, please. Continuing with reminders, first, attachment C, D, and E must all be completed. The PDAA is required, and if missing or incomplete, the response may be disqualified. The VADSIR is required for service-based offerings, and ACRs are completed. VPATs are required for every product offering. Next, attachment F must be completed for any terminated contracts. Not providing this form could result in a score of 0. I repeat that. Attachment F must be completed for any terminated contracts. Not providing this form could result in a score of 0. Finally, respondents are encouraged to include a signed first page of every addendum posted to the ESBD. This helps ensure everything is submitted and completed accurately. Next slide, please. For exceptions, this is a reminder that any exceptions must be listed in attachment G. Respondents must fill out the exception form exactly as instructed and should submit it as a separate Excel file. In addition, the MSA must be redlined to show any requested changes. This ensures that every exception is clear, which will be reviewed during evaluation. Next slide, please. In this section, we will walk through the evaluation criteria used to assess respondent submissions. Next slide. The evaluation criteria determines how proposals are reviewed and how best value is identified for the state. Under section 4.1, DIR reviews every response for responsiveness. This includes a financial solvency review conducted by the CFO's office and a check for completed VetHub subcontracting plan. DIR may request clarifications in writing at any point. Only responses that pass all mandatory checks move forward for evaluations. Next slide, please. Moving to pass-fail criteria in the RFO section 4.2.1. To move forward in evaluation, respondents must have a valid DUNS number and financial report, along with a completed VetHub subcontracting plan. Respondents also need to comply with the government code sections listed. A proposal will fail if the vendor has a score below a C in the vendor performance tracking system or is under a corrective action plan for repeated negative performance. Also, if the respondent has experienced any purchase orders terminations for non-performance within the preceding 12 months, the proposal shall be deemed non-compliant and will not be considered for award. If any of these conditions apply, your response cannot advance. Next slide, please. Continuing with the pass-fail criteria, you may be in compliance with the Texas accessibility laws listed. You must also complete the accessibility documents and complete the PDAA form with a non-zero score. Respondents must meet minimum experience requirements outlined in Table 5 of the RFO. Failure to meet any mandatory elements will result in disqualification. We will go more in detail in this presentation later. Next slide, please. For the weighted scoring criteria, it consists of the technical solution weighted at 40%, proposed account organization, personnel, and quality at 20%, pricing being 20%, transition and service integrations at 15%, and experience is at 5%. These combined factors determine overall best value. Next slide, please. As we close the evaluation criteria, we will now discuss the negotiations and discussion processes. These processes are designed to ensure accuracy and alignment with the respondent's submissions. These milestones entail potential activities such as the request for a revised offer, RFR01, due diligence, integration sessions, or RFR02. Please note that DIR is not required to conduct any request for revised offers, and respondents should treat each submission as final. Down selections may occur at any stage. Next slide, please. Sorry about that. As we close the evaluation criteria, we will now discuss the negotiation and discussion processes. These processes are designed to ensure all alignment in the respondent's submissions.
Give us just 1 second. We're having a few technical difficulties.
Testing, can everyone hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Sorry about that. Had a technical difficulty. Now let's get into the discussion sessions. After the administrative review, DIR will invite qualifying respondents to meet to make sure the requirements and responses is fully understood. The RFO gives respondents the information they need to build a complete proposal, but it is still their responsibility to gather any additional details they may need. After these sessions, DIR may request revised offers if clarification is needed. And just to note, we do not share any technical solutions or bid materials between respondents. Next slide, please. For integration sessions, DIR may invite selected respondents to meet with our other service providers so we can make sure all proposed solutions line up correctly. To support these sessions, DIR may share your technical solution with specific SCPs, and if a respondent doesn't allow this, they may be disqualified. Your information will never be shared with other respondents, only with the teams needed to validate alignment. The purpose of these sessions is to identify any gaps or overlaps between the solution and the existing STS solutions. DIR may also down-select respondents before these sessions take place and after the sessions. DIR may request revised offers as needed. Next slide, please. DIR may decide to request oral presentations or ask respondents to submit a revised offer. If a revised offer process is used, it may be scored, and DIR may request more than one version as needed. DIR will keep evaluating responses until we are confident we've reached the best value for the state. For due diligence, selected respondents will have the chance to ask more detailed questions about DIR's needs and our current environment. This helps ensure their final proposal is accurate, realistic, and aligned with the program. Next slide, please. DIR will also choose the respondents they want to begin contract negotiations with, and those negotiations will continue until DIR determines the state is receiving the best value overall. The decision is made solely at DIR's discretion, and this process includes only as long as this process continues as long as needed to reach the best outcome for the state. Next slide, please. DIR executive management will determine whether to award a contract based on what is best in the interest of DIR and the state. Their decision is final. Once a contract is awarded and fully executed, the award will be posted on the ESBD under requisition number RFO DIR-CPO-STS-602 so the public can view it. Next slide, please. Next up will be Teresa. She will walk us through the Vet Hub subcontracting plan requirements. Teresa?
Thank you, Deshaun.
Yep.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Teresa Williamson. I'm with the Business Outreach Coordination Office. Let's talk about your requirements for the Vet Hub subcontracting plan. Next slide, please. Every respondent must fill out a Vet Hub subcontracting plan. For the most up-to-date version of the Vet Hub subcontracting plan, please visit the link that's provided. Do not alter this document. It is an editable copy and available for your completion. Next slide. All respondents are required to submit a Vet Hub subcontracting plan, also known as your HSP. Failure to complete and sign and submit your Vet Hub subcontracting plan will result in your response being rejected, as it is a pass or fail item, like Deshaun had said previously. There are 3 ways to complete the Vet Hub subcontracting plan. You'll either self-perform, meet or exceed the Vet Hub goal and complete method A, or not meet the Vet Hub goal and complete method B. Next slide. The goal for this RFO is 26%. If your proposed subcontracting meets or exceeds the 26% goal, you'll complete Method A. So you will need to complete sections 1, 2, 4, and Method A, Attachment A. Next slide. If you're going to subcontract below the goal, you'll complete Method B. Be sure to solicit a minimum of 3 Vet Hub certified companies and 2 trade or development organizations. You must allow them 7 working days to respond to you prior to the due date of this RFO. Include your outreach to these entities with your HSP submission. So you will need to complete sections 1, 2, 4, and Method B, Attachment B. You can ask for a courtesy or complimentary review of your HSP from the Business Outreach Coordination Office to ensure that you have completed your HSP correctly. Next slide. If you will be self-performing, you will complete sections 1, 2, 3, and 4. In your self-performing justification, you'll identify how your company will fulfill a contract with its own staff, equipment, resources, etc. Don't say that you'll subcontract in the future or if you need to. Just make your case on how you plan to self-perform. Next slide. All right. Our contact information is listed here. We will provide you with that complimentary or courtesy review of your HSP prior to the due date of the RFO as time permits. You must contact us no later than 10 business days prior to the due date of the RFO. Take advantage of the complimentary review, and remember when you're corresponding with the Business Outreach Coordination Office to make sure that you're copying the procurement lead on all correspondence. Next slide. I'll turn it over to Marie.
Thank you so much, Teresa. Hello, my name is Marie Cohan. I lead the state's digital accessibility program, and I'm going to go through the requirements for your accessibility response. Next slide, please. So a little bit about digital accessibility. It is ensuring that our state government services are accessible to all Texans, regardless of their ability. This is cited under Texas Government Code Chapter 2054, Subchapter M. We also have supporting rules in Texas Administrative Code 206 and Texas Administrative Code 213. And we follow the industry standard Web Content Accessibility Guidelines 2.1 AA is now the new standard. Vendors are required to provide this accessibility documentation at the time of request, which means that this can be requested once you're awarded a contract at any point in time in the life of the contract. And please submit that documentation in accessible format. Next slide, please. The 3 documents that we're going to discuss are the Policy-Driven Adoption for Accessibility, or PDAA. This is a vendor self-assessment, and it is required. The Vendor Accessibility Development Services Information Request, or VAD-SIR, and this is only required for development services. And then the Accessibility Conformance Report, or ACR, which is also known as a Completed Voluntary Product Accessibility Template, or VPAT, and this is required for all products. Next slide, please. So first, the Policy-Driven Adoption for Accessibility. This is an assessment of the vendor's internal accessibility maturity. So this is an Excel spreadsheet that is provided in your packet. You can complete the actual Excel spreadsheet that's provided. You will complete each question using a numerical score of 0, 1, 2, or 3. And the spreadsheet will total your score at the bottom, letting you know where you fall on the Digital Accessibility Maturity Matrix. This self-assessment is not tied to any of the products or services in your response. This is specifically about the responding company and where you're at with your accessibility maturity. This can also be used as a document to help you along your maturity path. If this is missing, if it has a score of 0, or if it is incomplete, it will fail the accessibility section of your response. Even a score of 1, which is an immature accessibility program, is acceptable because we're supporting any company that starts a digital accessibility program to support Texans. Next slide, please. This is an example of the maturity matrix. So there are 3 different stages. There's a launch stage, an integrated stage, and an optimal stage. The link to the actual file online is provided. Next slide, please. Now we'll talk about the Accessibility Conformance Report. This is also known as a VPAT. The VPAT is just the industry template that is provided. Once a product is tested and the VPAT is completed, it becomes a conformance report. And that is what we would like you to submit for every product listed on your pricing sheet. You have the current version 2.4 or higher will be accepted. It is in your packet. There are instructions with the template that is provided. Please test the product or contact the product manufacturer and ensure that they have tested their product and documented how the product conformed to those WCAG success criteria. It will either support, partially support, not be applicable, or not tested for some reason. If you have anything that is not fully supported, so partially supports or it wasn't tested, please provide an explanation in the field for that success criterion. Next slide, please. This is an example of the different POR standards on the VPAT, and this is the most current WCAG version 2.1 AA. A link is provided that will take you to their website and explain each of these different success criteria to you. Next slide, please. So I already mentioned this. This is how conformance is measured for the WCAG success criteria. So once a product tests against a specific criteria, it'll document whether it's supported that criteria, supported with exceptions or partially supported, did not support, not applicable, or it was not evaluated for some reason. Again, if it's something that does not support or was not evaluated, please provide an explanation in the explanation field. Next slide, please. The Vendor Accessibility Development Services Information Request, or VADSR, is for development services only. We are looking, if your response does include a development service, we're looking for training at WCAG 2.1 AA, development done at WCAG 2.1 AA, and there's a series of questions on there to understand what your software development cycle looks like. So next slide, please. This is the information we're looking for. We would like to know how in your development services, accessibility is integrated into key business processes. We would like to know how your developers are trained, what kind of skills do they have. We would like to know development and testing tools that were used, any testing method or development methodologies, testing methodologies. We'd like to know what kind of corrective actions can be in place for documenting, tracking, resolving accessibility issues and defects. And then how can our customers be supported if there is a defect related to digital accessibility? We do ask for an example of work. We understand that that is not always possible. So in the event that a link to prior work cannot be provided, we will go to the responding company's website and do a quick accessibility scan of a sample of pages. Next slide, please. These are some additional resources related to digital accessibility, and they are on our website. If you have any questions, you can reach out to us at statewide-accessibility@dir.texas.gov. Please always copy your procurement lead on any communications to us. And if you would like, we can do a courtesy review of your PDAA or your VADSR. We do not do courtesy reviews of accessibility conformance reports. Next slide, please. And I will hand it over to Chris Walton.
Thanks, Marie. Good afternoon, everyone. Chris Walton, Assistant General Counsel here at DIR. I'm going to take a few minutes to go over some legal considerations as you are preparing your responses to this RFO. Next slide, please. Key document for your review in the RFO package is the Master Services Agreement, or MSA. This is the template that will be used for any awarded contract. Bracketed items in the template will be completed prior to award. Note that prior to contract award, DIR may make changes to the MSA as may be required, but any respondents selected for negotiations will be notified if any changes are needed. Respondents are instructed to review the MSA and its attachments as part of the RFO, and note any exceptions to the contents of the MSA or attachments in the initial response. Next slide, please. With that said, we don't encourage respondents to request exceptions to the MSA or any other RFO documents. As we've discussed this afternoon, we maintain a robust program and want to try and keep those contract terms as consistent as possible. That said, we understand some exceptions may be necessary, and so we ask that respondents note any additional requested terms in their exceptions. Respondents must carefully distinguish between exceptions and pricing assumptions. Exceptions are requested through attachment G versus the pricing assumptions which must be noted separately in Exhibit 2. Just checking, doing the sound checking. Folks still hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, perfect. Thanks, Brianna. All right. Any exceptions must be noted in RFO attachment G. If there are no exceptions, the respondent needs to explicitly state that it takes no exceptions. Next slide, please. As a reminder, with exceptions, DIR will consider exceptions when determining best value for the state. DIR will accept, reject, or negotiate exceptions in its sole discretion. And any exception or combination of exceptions or prolonged negotiations may result in a respondent being removed from consideration. Another note that exceptions not submitted with the initial response shall not be considered later in the process. Next slide, please. A note on designated contacts. The RFO notes who your designated contacts are. Vendors and all vendor representatives, including potential subcontractors, shall not attempt to discuss the contents of the RFO with any employees or representatives of DIR other than those designated contacts. Failure to observe this restriction may result in disqualification of any related responses. Next slide, please. Note on legal entity names. Respondents must use their legal entity name when submitting their responses. The name must match exactly the name as registered with the Texas Secretary of State. No abbreviations or using only a DBA. If a respondent has a properly registered DBA, they may include that in addition to the legal name, but only again if that DBA has been properly registered with the Secretary of State. The DUNS number provided must match the legal name and the address on record with Dun & Bradstreet to ensure that a proper match is made. Failure to provide the correct legal name and DUNS number may lead to delays in contract award. Next slide, please. Note on the Public Information Act. All information submitted, including all documents, emails, and attachments, is subject to the Public Information Act. Respondents must submit a redacted and a non-redacted copy of their responses. In the non-redacted copy, clearly mark any information that is confidential, proprietary, or copyrighted. Information that is not clearly marked will be released upon request. Information that is clearly marked will be submitted to the Office of the Attorney General to determine whether the requested information should be released. And we encourage you to coordinate with your legal counsel if you have any questions about what information should be marked as confidential. For more details, we refer you back to the RFO, section 3.5.9 on public information. Next slide, please. Just one more note on a relatively new administrative rule that we have in place. So section 420 of the MSA details artificial intelligence requirements for the successful respondent. These requirements include compliance with the Texas AI Code of Ethics and minimum risk management and governance standards. Both the Code of Ethics and the minimum risk management and governance standards have been adopted by DIR in Title I, Texas Administrative Code, Chapter 219. So we encourage you to review that rule as you are preparing your response. And with that, I believe I turn it back over to Deshaun.
Thanks, Chris. As we approach the end of this presentation, I wanted to briefly restate some important takeaways in the Q&A process. Next slide. So the vendors and subcontractors stated in this slide are precluded from award, being that SecOps requires full independence from these areas. DIR may also identify additional conflicts in the future, and those preclusions apply both to prime vendors and any subcontractors on their teams. This ensures SecOps providers remain fully independent and avoids any conflicts of interest. Next slide, please. As a reminder, all questions submitted before the conference and any asked during the Q&A period will be answered in an addendum to the ESBD. Respondents must solely rely on the ESBD for official updates throughout the procurement. Sorry about that. Next slide, please. We strongly encourage respondents to read the RFO in its entirety before submitting questions. Many common inquiries are already addressed in the Statement of Work, Exhibit 1 and 2, and Additional Data Room. The Common Data Room contains program details and operating models, while the SecOps Data Room includes runbooks, historical volume data, SLA performance, and project information. Additional details may be added throughout this solicitation process. Next slide, please. We will now close the Security Operations Bidders Conference. All questions and inquiries must be emailed to the Enterprise 602@dir.texas.gov email. Again, that's Enterprise 602@dir.texas.gov. Continue checking the ESBD frequently for updates and official communication related to the RFO. Thank you for your participation and interest in supporting the state of Texas. We look forward to reviewing your responses, and we encourage all respondents to submit thoughtful, completed, and compliant proposals. Have a great day.